Welcome to the CSS Box Model topic video. We're going to learn about the basic CSS model for boxes. This is how CSS ends up laying out everything. Everything gets a box around it, okay? And we're going to find out that the boxes consists of content, padding, border, and margin. We'll find out what those are, okay? We're going to see how those add up together and how they give you the size of a box. There's a more, maybe easier to use alternate box sizing model. Still uses the same notions of what the pieces are, but it's different in what we are setting the size of. It allows us to set the overall box size. We're also going to see a huge variety of different length units that we can get and use in CSS. We're going to learn about the basic types of boxes, block inline and inline block, and we're going to understand how to use overflow properties to hide things, and more particularly, we'll probably want to scroll things. So scrolling is provided by CSS, not HTML, and we set it with the overflow property. So let's get into this. Okay, the readings and references. I would recommend pretty much reading the first one pretty thoroughly. Okay, I would quickly look at some of the others and use them as references when things get trickier. Okay, I pulled out a set of summary tables from the length unit document to put in these slides just for reference purposes. Okay, but this is not stuff that one memorizes. It's one that stuff that people look up. But understanding the basic model, we have to do that. Okay, why? Because it's the foundation of layout on the web. Each element that is HTML element is represented as a rectangular box. Okay, with the box's content built up around it. So what does that mean? Okay, we saw in styling text we got to control all the control and more they are used to with a modern word processor. In styling boxes, we get more control over sizing, which means the sizing of the content, the padding, to the border, what it is, and margins. So we need to understand what these things are. The model is simple. Remembering it can take a little work. The model starts with the content. Okay. For many of the box models, we have control of both width and height. Okay, we'll learn about that in a sec. Okay, that's the content. Okay, for some box models, it's set by the content, and we don't have control over. Okay, but for block boxes, we do. Outside the content is the padding. It's between the content and the border. We can set a border, okay, and this represents the edge of our box because the margin is between us and other things, okay? Okay. Content, height, and width. We can set the width and height properties of a content box, which is the area in which the content box is displayed. The content includes both text, constant, okay, and other boxes representing child elements. Okay, so it's a hierarchy, it's the containment model. Okay, when you set the content of a box, it includes what's in it. Okay, in addition to setting the height and width, we can have max and mins. We can set the max width, max min, max height, min height. Let's take a look. Okay, so here's a document that's referenced at the middle of this document, but let's try and understand these things. What's in this document? Here we see the document body, the whole document highlighted to the left. Inside we have a header. Within the header are two H1s, two first level headings, and an introductory paragraph. Okay, so the header is a box, is a block. Okay, I want to give it a width. Say we've learned about rem and m units, so let's go 60 rem units. What are rem units? They're the size of the width of the text relative to the base text used for the whole document. Okay. I don't see anything. Let's, to help us see the content of the box, okay, explicitly, we're going to set the background. Wait, before we do that, let's go back here, okay. We don't see any difference here. Width, 60 rem. Maybe I made it too big. Let's try 40 rem. Programming languages I have known. Oops. Header. I think I messed it up. So what do we do when we mess things up? We just reload the document. Okay, try it again. Width, 40 rem. Oh, it looks like something looks a little different. Now, if I come over the header, oh, look at this. We see this highlighted box. We saw a box highlighting things, okay? In the old days, we didn't get this nice interactivity, so what we would do is we set the background color to something like whatever. We'll use bisque. What is bisque? Background color. I misspelled color. Background color. Bisque. Okay, we used to set a color for the background. Background colors only apply to the content area and the padding. Padding? We haven't learned about padding yet. We've only learned about setting the content height and width. Let's set a height parameter. Hello. There we go. Height, H-E-I-G-H-T, and let's make it something kind of big. 10 rem. Oh, let's make it a little bigger. 15 rem. Okay, we could see this box is now taking up more room than it would have. Okay, so we can set the height too. Okay. Padding. Padding represents the inner margin of a CSS box, the layer between the outer edge of the content box and the inner edge of the border. Outer edge of the content box, inner edge of the border. Okay. Let's try some padding. Padding left. Watch carefully, 1 M. Over here, we got more padding. We got more space between us and the edge. 2 M, even more. Let's go to the, let's do padding top. Okay, 1 rem. Okay, we threw in some padding there. Padding bottom. I'm going to turn off the height parameter so we can actually see the padding bottom. Okay, so padding bottom 0.5 rem. Okay, and let's go further around. Padding right. We can set it however we like. Let's set it something extreme. 4 rem. Okay. Kind of ugly. Let's go back and make it symmetric-ish. Okay. So padding is between the content and the edge, okay? Background color comes through the content and the padding, okay? The content is what's setting the width, okay? So we have the total width is going to be the content width, you can't see me finger pointing, the content width, which is shown in yellow, and the padding, which is shown in purple. Okay. Padding. Borders. We can add borders. Okay. What kind of borders can you do? You can set top, bottom, right, border left, all separately. We can set the border width, the border style, the border color. Okay. If I use these, then it'll go all the way around, so I'm going to use that for simplicity. Okay, so let's try setting a border. Border style solid. Okay. Border width 0.5 rep. Ooh, that's pretty big. Border color, how about chartreuse? That's chartreuse. Oh, it's like lime green. It's not what I intended. How's that? A bluey blue. How's that? That's a nice blue. Okay, so now we see the border. We can set the width now. What is the total size of the box? I don't know. We've got the content plus the width plus the border. Ooh, okay. Notice that padding, I'm going to go padding left, 3, okay, that's 0. I go 3M. The padding's to the side of the border, okay. Awfully big, 1M, okay. So borders. What other kind of borders can you get? Well, you know, instead of trying to memorize that, I come over here and I go, oh, we can get dash borders. Ooh. What else can we get? This is one that's interesting. You can get a double border. Cool. Okay, so there's all sorts of border properties that you can try. And you can do border radiuses and all sorts of things. Like I said, you can spend a lot of time. Okay. So let's see. So far we have content that we can set height and width on. We've got the padding, which sets the space between the content and the border or the sides, the edge. Okay. Margins. Margins represent the outer area surrounding your box. This is the distance between your box and other boxes. Okay. Other boxes. So let's try some margins. Margin top. What other boxes are in here? The other box that's in here is we're definitely within the body, which is the whole thing. We set the margin top. Let's set it to 2 rem. Notice we got more distance between us, our header, and the top of the document. Okay. And we see that the background color of the body, which is the containing document, is showing through here. Okay. Not the background color of our header, which is the disk. Okay. So that's why sometimes I start adding in background colors so I can see these things. Okay. Margin represents the outer area surrounding the CSS box. okay, which pushes things around. Okay. Let's set some more values to just reinforce this. Okay, so we're down here. Let's go with margin dash left 10 rem. Ooh, pushes it all the way over. That's kind of annoying. How about 2 rem? Okay. Margin bottom 3 rem. Okay. And margin right I don't know, about 2 rem. Okay. Well, that's interesting. The margin right doesn't seem to apply much because I can just move this thing around. Interesting. Margins. Okay. Margin collapse. Margins have a specific behavior called margin collapsing. The 2 boxes touch against each other. The distance between them is the value of the largest of the 2, not their sum. What? Let's try it. So we have, what's the next box? Is this section. Let's give it some basic features. Let's give it a background color. Width. First, let's do width something like the other one, which was 40 rem. Okay. Let's give it a border solid beige. Ooh, that's not very good. Solid black 2 pixels. Okay, so that's a small border. Okay. Now, so we can tell what this thing's looking like. Let's give it a background color of something light blue, light coral. Ugly, but that's not the point here. Okay, I'm not going to bother putting in any. I'm not going to put in any padding for right now. Let's try margin top. Okay. Now, okay, and let's put in 3 rem. Hello, no change. Why didn't we get any change? Let's look at the header part. What's the margin bottom here? 3 rem. Oh, if I change this to 2 rem, no change here. It takes the value not of the sum of the 2 margins, but the margin that's bigger. If I increase this to 4 rem, we saw a little change over here. Okay. Go back to 3 rem. Okay. Okay. That's the idea of margin collapse. The idea was to kind of have some spacing that made sense if you start shoving a lot of boxes together rather than doubling up the space, but it can be a little confusing. So that's the phenomena of margin collapse. Okay. Now, you can set negative values, unlike height, width, padding, border. Okay. You can't use height, width, padding, or border width. None of those can be negative. Margins, for some reason, can be negative. With negative margins, you can do the following. Margin top. Minus 3. Sorry. minus 3 rem. Minus 5 rem. It's not letting it go under, sorry, the 3 here. Let's see what would be a good one to do. Let's go up to our header. Let's set its margin top to minus 3 rem. What? Really? Minus 30 rem. I just moved it off the document. Okay. And, ooh, talk about ugly looking text in here. I just moved it right out of the document, and this one went kind of with it. Minus 3 rem, it's kind of off the top of the document. Okay. So I can use negative margins to move things away. Margin left. Let me try setting the margin left here to minus 50. Wow, it disappeared right off the page. Minus 5 rem, minus 1 rem, back to 1. Can you think of a use for that? Like moving things on and off pages if you control this with JavaScript? Yep. And we also have effects that we can use called transitions, that we can transition a value so we can make it look like things are coming into the screen or leaving the screen and such like that, all via this using negative margins. Okay. So negative margins are useful. Okay. And we will see them used. Okay. One last thing about margins. Okay. Let's go up to the header. Let's go with left. And let's set the left margin to auto. Okay. Now the right margin seems to be staying put. Oh, look at this. I set the left margin to auto, so it's whatever it needs to do to maintain the right margin where it is. Oh, Professor, what happens if you set both left and right margins to auto? This is one way of centering a box horizontally. Okay. There are better ways to set the box horizontally. Okay. But this is an easy way. Okay. Alternate box and length units. The total width of a box is the sum of its width, meaning its content width, padding right, padding left, border right, border left, properties, meaning the thickness of the borders. Okay. In some cases, it's really annoying. To avoid such problems, it's possible to tweak the box model with the box sizing property. The property box sizing. So look at this. Okay. Here, we've got margin. It's not included in here because it's not part of the overall size of the box. It's the space between. But now the box sizing includes the height and width that you set includes the border, the padding, and the content. Why would I want this? Okay, so over here, I'm going to set, let's say, I'm going to go back to my heading. Okay. Let's say I'd like the heading box to be the same width as this content section box. Okay. But I'd like to use different left and right margins here. I mean, not margins, padding up here in different type of, I'm going to be using a different type of border. I want something more decorative. it'd be very hard to get these the same width. If I come in here, though, and change, come on, let me put something in here. It's only going to let me do it at the bottom. Sorry. Here we go. I'm going to just move that up for a little bit. We're going to go box sizing border box. Okay. Notice the size changed a little bit. It got a little smaller because the overall size of the box is 40 rem. Let's move it up to 50 rem. Okay. Now, let's go down to the lower box, the section. Okay. Let's set its width to 50 rem. 50 rem. That doesn't look the same size, does it? Let's now go box sizing border box. That means now they're the same size. What else do I need to do? Let's go margin left auto, margin right auto. Notice these both have different paddings, different types of borders, but they line up perfectly now. Okay, that's the advantage without me trying to calculate it out, without me having to calculate it out. This is why a lot of CSS libraries, sorry, not CSS libraries, frameworks, that means pre-styled collections of CSS, start off by making everything a border box. Okay, it's very nice. So the subtlety is you don't have to add things together. The width and the height include the border padding and content, while before you were setting the height and width of the content and then adding things to it. Now, I showed you rems and things like that because we had done those when we did text styling. There's a whole mess of other units we can use. There's absolute units like centimeters, millimeters, inches, picas, points. These are classic typography units, and pixels, okay, which we've been using a bit. Okay? Those are absolute units. There are also relative units. Okay, we used M. Okay, font size of the parent. Okay, X and CH are some fancier ones that have to do with font sizes that probably need to look into typography a bit more to get a good handle on those. Rem, we use this, the font size of the root element. Haven't used line height myself, line height of an element, which might be good for spacing. Here's where we get some really interesting relative units. Relative length units, too. Viewport width unit, VW. It's 1% of the viewport's width. VH, 1% of the viewport's height. Vmin and Vmax, 1% of the viewport's smaller dimension or larger dimension. Let's give these guys a try and see what effects we would get. Okay, so we're going to come over to here to our header where we set a width in rem. Now let's set it in viewport units. Let's go with 60 VWs. Let's see what happens now when we change this. Oh, look at that dynamic sizing. It changes width. Ooh, that's not good though. It changes as we resize things. We might want to say here instead, how about Okay. We'll leave that alone for a sec. Let's do the other one too. How do we do that? We said 60. Okay, so instead of rem, we're going to go with 60 VW, viewport width. So now we get some nice dynamic sizing. However, we also notice that it can get too small. How can we fix that problem? Min width, we can set a min width of say 20 rem. Don't see any effect until it stops shrinking. Okay, let's apply that to the top too. Let's actually make it a little bigger though, so we see the effect kick in quicker. Min width 30 rem. Go to the header. Min width 30 rem. Okay, so we don't see this at all here. So we see nice sizing and stuff like that until we get down to here. It stops shrinking. Okay. You know, at this point, they'll use the horizontal scrolling. Okay. Okay. Pretty cool. We can do a lot of things with that to get dynamic sizing. This is why CSS puts us between a graphic layout artist kind of thing that they would use and something that involves computer programming, because pieces of paper in the old days didn't automatically resize themselves. We have to deal with devices of different widths and heights. Okay, CSS needs to try and account for that. Okay, so those are some of those units. Do we have some more units? Okay, hands on time. We demonstrated these things in class. We'll probably play with those ourselves. Okay, types of boxes. A block box is defined as a box that's stacked upon other boxes. Okay, block boxes don't sit side by side. They can have width and height set on them. Okay, the whole box model described previously applies to block boxes. Okay, everything we talked about before you can do with a block box. Okay, a block box will extend in the inline direction, which means left to right for the languages that we're using in this class, to fill the space available in its container. Huh, Professor? If I go to the header and I turn off the width, the block box gets as wide as its container, except for we set margin, right? So the margin keeps this from going all the way to the edge. Okay. When I set a width, it restricts that. Okay. But otherwise, by default, a block box is as wide as its container. The box will break onto a new line. So when we go down and we look at the section element that comes after the header element, it's a block box. It comes on a new line. Okay, it doesn't try and sit side by side. The width and the height properties are respected. We were able to set both width and height. Okay. Padding, margin, and border will cause other elements to be pushed away from the box, depending on the sizing model. Right? Inline box. This is like text inside a paragraph. It flows with the document's text. Width and height settings have no effect on inline boxes. Any padding, margin, and border set on the inline boxes will update the position of surrounding text, but not affect this position of surrounding boxes. Huh? Let's try it. Okay, so I think we need a little bit more width here. Let's take a look what's going on in here. And I think we need something with a lighter background color. Let's pull it all the way up to here. Let's look for some inline elements. Okay, so in this section, we have a bunch of paragraphs. Within those paragraphs, we have a span. The span has a class lang name. Okay, so I'm going to try styling this. Okay, so it's a span with the classes lang and name. Okay, oops, what did I do that for? I'm going to go to style all these to the style editor. Okay, I'm going to go dot lang. Ooh, nice, it's showing me that. I want it dot name, and it's a span. So I'm going to put span out here. What's this? This is a combinator, right? The AB combinator. So I want every span that has both lang and name, okay, to have these properties. So what I'm going to do to make it stick out is font size, no, style. I'm going to make it bold so we can see it. I don't see it. Font style mode. Font style is incorrect. Font weight. Remember? Okay. Now, font weight. Bold. Okay. Now let's try setting a width. Width. 20M. Let's try setting a height. Height. 2M. No effect. Let's try setting a border. Border, solid, black. Oh, we got a border. Let's try setting some padding. Padding. Now this is not pretty. Oh, that's really ugly, and notice it doesn't push the other guys away. So this is really not what we were intending. Okay, so both the width and the height don't work. Okay, the padding works, the border works, but I don't think those are very useful looking. Okay, the box will not break onto a new line. Yep, we saw that. Padding, margin, and borders will apply, but not cause other inline boxes to move away from the box. Okay, not the greatest. An inline block box is something in between the first two. It flows with the surrounding text without creating line breaks before and after it like an inline box, but it can be sized using width and height and maintains its block integrity. Okay, it won't be broken across paragraph lines. Let's try it. Okay, because I've used this on my inline block. Woo! Now, of course, I don't think I want all that padding, but look, Fortran. Oh, the width worked. Okay, I first met Fortran. Let's see, how about dash? Okay, I first met Fortran when I was starting my career at a junior college. We used punch cards. Pascal. Ooh, well, that's not bad at all. This is kind of what I intended. And all these guys are the same width, so it kind of makes it look natural. Okay. Height. Padding we turned off, but height is kind of 1.5. That's not bad. Width, height. Oh, no, we still have padding in there. It's not bad. Let's leave it. Okay, so we saw block boxes, inline boxes, and this hybrid of the two, okay, which is an inline block. Nifty. What else do we got? Content overflow. When you set the size of a box with absolute values, e.g. a fixed width, the content may not fit. Oh, we set the height, the content may not fit. We can use the overflow property. Do we have anything interesting here? Oh, here are all these code samples. Ooh, the code samples are really long, kind of break up the flow of things. Let's restrict the heights of these code samples. We need a way to get at these code samples. What do they look like? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to say, oh, they're all in these pre-blocks. Okay, so I'm going to make, ooh, and look, they're coming out all over the place too. Not very good looking. I'm going to make a style for these pre-blocks and restrict their height. Okay, let's go to the style editor. I'm going to go pre-height. Oh, I don't know, 10 rem. Oh, that's got to be the ugliest thing you've ever seen. What's going on here? What's going on here is that HTML and CSS don't try and hide things. They don't try and lose information. Okay, so we can see here that we've got a mess. Okay, so it's up to us to clean up this mess. Okay, nothing's being hidden. So how should we clean up this mess? We can go overflow, and we can say hidden. We cleaned up the mess. Oh, you know, the problem is though, we lost everything that was part of this. And in addition, I find this annoying. So let's go background, dash color, white, just so we can see things easier. These code blocks, I think we need some padding. How about half and rem? Okay, so that looks a little bit better, but we're missing all the stuff. We can't see the rest of the stuff. So overflow and hidden solved the smashing everything around stuff, but it didn't really help as far as our problem. So what can we do? Overflow. How about scroll? Wow, that's neat. Look at that. We get scroll bars automatically. We don't have to put them on there. We don't have to enclose this in a scrolling element if you've ever done GUI programming. Oh, well, this is a little annoying. We don't need the scroll bars on the horizontal now when I made it wider. How can we fix that? Well, as simple as saying scroll auto. Okay? Professor, it looks just the same. Does it? Oh, once it's wide enough, the horizontal scroll bars went away. The vertical scroll bars remain. Now, scrolling. Is this pretty yet? It needs work still, right? It needs work, but we got it kind of in shape and we illustrated things. Okay, the CSS Box Model. Okay, popular overflow values, auto, hidden, visible. Visible is the default. Okay, all of these are useful depending on what you want to set them to. you can actually use overflow X and overflow Y individually. Okay. Okay, and you can set these things for more precise control. Okay. Hope you enjoyed that. Okay, and we're going to practice in class and in our homework assignments because this is a major technique to help us style and lay out pages. Okay.